Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick information video about Honda GL1100, or I guess this could be 1200, the GL1200 or GL1000 single carburetor conversion. So this is a 1983 GL1100. You could see, I think it's mostly stock other than the stuff I've done to it. All I've really done is brakes, rear master cylinder, went through that, new rotor, new caliper because the old caliper was locked up. And here, just a second, over here I've got the original carbs. I went on to yeah, they were pretty disgusting, but I actually rebuilt them, soaked everything in chem dip and new fuel line, lubed everything up really nice so it actually all moves really good. I did new float needles, cleaned out the floats, the jets and everything. Because before, when I bought the bike for $1,000, not running, hadn't ran in 8 to 10 years, something like that. It was elderly owned. The guy sadly died of cancer, but bought it for cheap, wasn't running because it sat so long. Carbs weren't even that dirty. I don't know. I rebuilt them with the almost $300 Randak rebuild kit, plus the extras like the float needles, which I ordered these float needles. Didn't work still, because when I tried to, it would only originally, before I rebuilt these carbs, run on starting fluid. And when I went back through, it would just keep flooding. And yeah, they even have this handy fuel gauge that comes with the Randak kit. You can tell exactly where the floats are supposed to go, but you're actually supposed to have the carb rack up like this when you do that. Anyways, besides the point. Even when I rebuilt it, it would flood, so I'm assuming something's up with the float system. Probably needs new seats or something, but this thing, pain in the ass. I didn't want to deal with it anymore because, yeah, I could get this running, but then I have to deal with sinking it and then all this other crap and making, I don't know, when you try to getting this on and off the bike is a huge pain in the ass. I don't know, it's too big for, honestly, that little spot where it's supposed to go on the bike. Really annoying to get on and off, takes forever, and I'm just like I'm sick of looking at this piece of junk. I'll keep it in case I ever want to sell the bike. Probably adds value to have this, but this thing is a total pain in the ass. And then this accelerator pump is also a pain in the ass. Everything about this sucks. I hate this carburetor. But go back. Here's my bike. She's a little dinged up, but just because I don't know what was going on here. But anyways, here's the new bike, or here's the bike. To get to the carburetor, you're gonna have to take off this fairing, unless you have the non-fairing version. There's usually some chrome trim here, which I don't have anymore. Well, I'll probably won't put it back on because I just don't care enough. While you're at it, you may as well, this is another important tip, you're gonna want to pull the whole radiator off because it's super easy. There's bolt here, bolt, and then this piece comes out, and there's radiator, 4 bolts. They hold the radiator in. First they hold this grill in, which I don't even know if it's stock, but then you pull the radiator out. And do yourself a timing belt, because you probably need that done anyways. I don't know. I did the timing belt. Took forever because this cam wants to roll. I think it wants to roll this way on you because of the valve springs. So you have to hook up a wrench onto here and then zip tie it here and keep it there while you slide the belt on. It's just a pain in the ass. Anyways, oh, also don't mess up your belt idlers because they don't make them anymore. So make sure they run good or else you're toast. Someone's probably going to comment about how that's not true, but all right, so here we go with the actual single carb. First of all, here's a single carb. Got this manifold from an eBay seller called VTC Motors on eBay, but they also have a website, and they are in Lithuania. This one's actually really nice because these are at downward angles, these runners, so they actually run down, slope down to these into the cylinder, so this gas won't pool in here. But gas shouldn't pool in here anyways, because on here we have the wonderful Volkswagen Type 34 PICT3 carburetor, which I don't know if anyone knows. It's like a early 70s carb put on the Beetles and buses, or maybe Super Beetles. I don't know. You can also put a 31 PICT3 or whatever it's called on here. There's two nuts. They go over the studs on the. Sorry, you can't really see it because I have all these crap in the way. And then this slides in, paper gasket in between them. Really nice. I actually had one problem with this. Actually, I'll get to that. But you see this rubber right here? That's actually bicycle inner tube, because what was happening is I put these boots on, or the boots, and it was vacuum leaking because it wouldn't tighten up enough around these, because this tubing is a little too thin. So I had to come up with a gasket. A guy on YouTube, I think his name is Dusty Dingus, recommended bicycle inner tube. So I went to Walmart and picked up a 16-inch diameter bicycle tube and slid it over that. Tighten these all the way down. Make sure you get yourself a JIS screwdriver. Don't ask me how I know that, because I stripped out a million screws on this thing before I realized that. New fuel filter, may as well do that while you're in here. New fuel lines, you can order this stuff on Amazon, it's cheap. Same with the other side, you can see. Did that. It's actually really nice, and there's so much room in here now. This is what not a lot of people talk about in the videos, but the throttle spring, the stock one, it's fine. I ordered different stock or springs, and they also worked. I wanted something with more tension, but it turns out my old throttle cable was toast, and now this throttle cable is toast. But anyways, something that there's not a lot of resource online about is the orientation of these manifolds, because I actually have another manifold that I bought from another guy on eBay, which was way cheaper than this one, but turns out it's a pile of crap. So I'll show you that in a minute, because this one's an X. Anyways, so you're gonna want these here. Let's pull this out of the way. There's a little area for the throttle cable to sit in, so you can see my finger. You can pull on this, the throttle arm. You're gonna want that on the throttle cable on the right side of the bike, because if you try to put it on the other side, you're gonna have to run your throttle cable really, you're gonna have to like bend it way down in there, and it just, or have it like stick out this side, and it just looks really stupid, and it didn't work out very well. So I ended up just I also took the push throttle cable out. I didn't plug it up, but I just took it out. And then you run your throttle cable however you want. I don't know. I'm probably gonna eventually change it, because I'm changing the throttle cable anyways, because I broke the second one. It's actually, there's too much play in it, but it does work. I'll show you. Take a look at that. See? Don't want to move it too far, because it'll dump gas in there from the accelerator pump. Anyways, also while you're in here, make sure your TAC cable is connected. Unscrew this bolt if it pops out, and then slide it back in, and then screw that back in. It'll stay. All right, so here's the air cleaner. If I could find the link, I'll put it in the description. It's an EMPI air cleaner. Here we go. This is the very important piece of information. So your PCV system right here, this is the little port for your PCV system. Normally on your stock carbs, it would run up here and into the air box, but you don't have an air box anymore. So, and then another one, and then another hose would run down to this little catch can right here, which you're actually supposed to empty out every once in a while. But I didn't even know what this was until I had to look it up. It's a little oil or water catch can for water vapor inside your crankcase. I eventually have to route that in. I get a tea or something, I don't know. A lot of guys, it's not readily available online, but a lot of guys we'll just take this, we'll take the tube on here and just route it backwards and have a dump on the ground, which I guess is fine, but I want to, this air cleaner actually has a little, it's kind of hard to see, but it does, I have it with the tube routed, and it connects into the air cleaner, so it's doing something, I hope. Yeah. Here's another look at the manifold. It's very nice. Another thing is you're going to want to ground your carb. So this carb has electric fuel cutoff solenoid down there, and then on this side, so this would be the left side of the bike, there is an electric choke right up here. So let's take a look right there. This is the electric choke. If anyone's familiar with Volkswagens, you got to wire that up. It just heats up a little metal element in there and opens the choke as it heats up. A lot of guys like to just take that crap off, but personally I hate this manual choke, so I just ran this cable. I didn't want to cut it off just in case, but I just put it back here. It's not gonna hurt anything. Zip tied it off, but anyways, so you want to do, I don't know, positive. So I just did this. Eventually I should probably put a fuse in here, but I don't know, I'm lazy. So take your positive, run the hot to, or yeah, positive to your choke right here, and once your fuel cutoff solenoid. And then to ground it, a lot of guys like to put them on the stud of the manifold in the carburetor. I didn't like how much cable I would have to run, or I don't know, whatever. I just ran it up here to unscrew one of the tops of the carb screws, and I just ran it right back under here, right to this little bolt underneath the seat. It works good enough. You can hear it. You can hear it is obviously working because listen, take a listen. That's the fuel cutoff solenoid working, and then the choke will heat up obviously if there's current pass through it. Other than that, let me think about what other things. Yeah, so in here there is not a lot of room, so you can just be careful. It's kind of a pain to get this fuel hose on here with how little space there is. Another thing, your accelerator pump, since this carburetor was meant for a 1600cc Volkswagen, you're going to want to take the accelerator pump and put it all the way to the top on the adjustment. So this would be the negative up here, and this would be the positive. I saw some diagram. I think down here sprays more gas. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but up here is where you want it to be. So it more slowly engages, I guess. I can't really explain it because I still haven't really wrapped my head around it. Just the guys on the Volkswagen forums recommended I put up there. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, please. You also might want to change these out for actual hose clamps because you can actually get a tighter grip than these stock Honda clamps, but it seems to not be leaking vacuum ever since I put this tubing on. You just cut them to about this big. Let's see. It's like that. Actually a little bit bigger than this, but I just bought tubing. Sorry, my garage is a mess. Right. Here we go. Anyways, oh yeah. So in here, if you know anything about the Volkswagen carbs, you got two jets on this side. Let's see. You got your idle jet right here is this big one, and the small one's your power jet. I don't really know much about the power jet yet. I'm still learning, but the idle jet is basically what you use for low RPM anywhere. I think it's up to 2,000 to 2,500 RPM that's the idle circuit you're going to be using, or that's the jet you're mostly going to be using. Carb from Amazon, it's just a Chinese remake carb of the original Solex, but it works great actually. It comes with a 55 idle jet, and the main jet, which we go take and walk to the other side. The main jet is accessible right through, let's see if I can see it, right through that little plug right there. So you're draining out all your gas when you do that, so make sure to get like a cup. But the main jet that comes installed is the 127, but this carburetor also comes with a spare 65 idle jet and a I think it's 137 main jet, which is it's too big. Honestly, even the 127 is a little bit big for this. I also want to let you guys know that I purchased a main jet kit off of Amazon for cheap because I'm cheap. And I'm going to experiment putting a 115 main jet in here because right now it's running pretty rich. It burns through gas when I'm driving it. I'm going to put a 140, or no, I'm going to put a 40 main jet in, or idle jet, 40 idle jet in. And then I'm going to increment down. So I'm going to go to a 125 main jet. And then if that's a little too much, I'm going to go to a 120 main jet. And then ideally, I want to get down to a 115 main jet, see what that does. I don't have a lot of hope, but anyways, like I said earlier, this carburetor was meant for a 1600cc bug, but this is an 1100, so it doesn't need that as much gas, hopefully, usually. Anyways, a lot of guys online talk about heating the manifold or carburetor. There's a great Facebook group called Single Carb Swap. You should join it. One guy, he didn't drill holes in, but he stuck holes in, or 3D printer heaters into his carb body and heated it that way. Eventually what I plan on doing, because you will see if you run this, a lot of condensation builds up and it gets cold until you eventually heat the bike up, like the bike heats up. But it will get cold and condensation will happen, and that's not good because eventually if you drive this in like 40-degree to less weather, you might have your manifold freeze up, and that's not good. Anyways, so you got two adjustments on this carburetor. Well, technically three. What you want to do for this one, the fast idle, there's great guides online on how to adjust this baby. I'm not going to tell you how to adjust it, but just look it up. You're going to want this adjusted properly because it'll throw everything else off. Make sure your throttle cable is all right too, not broken. I learned that the hard way. Anyways, if you look in here, this is a brake line actually, so let's look. Right, you can't see. Anyways, up here, if you know anything about Volkswagen carbs, again, it's hard to see. There's your air bypass screw, which is the big one. And that's for, I guess it's for setting your idle. Don't quote, I don't know. I backed it out. You're going to want to back both of them out 2.5 turns. So there's another screw right below it. It's very small. You can't see it very well. But that's the volume screw. So that's basically your mixture screw, you could say. And this is the bypass. So this will bypass the idle circuit when you back this out, the air. And it'll make it, the farther you back the bypass screw out, the higher your bike will rev at idle. And there's great resources online on how to tune these. I'm gonna eventually have to, I have it set pretty good right now. Eventually I'm gonna have to retune it though because I will be putting new jets in it. Anyways, there is a couple more jets inside this carburetor, which I don't know how to mess with, and I don't plan on messing with them. It's the air jet. The air jets are inside, and they're vertical. So I'm not messing with the power jet or the air jets. And I also wanted to show you guys what I did originally was I had this baby. Had this manifold, which was $100 from a guy on eBay. He said he's a machinist or whatever. You can see I used it a lot. So basically, it's junk. If you look, the bottoms of these runners is not flush with the bottom. So what happens with this is the first time you put this in and you start it up, bike runs great, runs fine, everything. Also, this is exactly what's on the other carb. It looks just like this, or the other manifold. But the square, first of all, not very great for airflow and turbulence. But the main issue with this carb is they go downwards, but the bottom of this is not flush with the runners. So what's going to happen is when this manifold is cold, or just when you run it, gas is going to pool at the bottom. See if you can see in there. Pools right at the bottom. Here, let me get my flashlight. You can see that little lip. And that's the exact issue is what was happening. This would fill up, the bottom would fill up with like literally a millimeter of gas. And it would run fine first time. Then you would come back the next day and be like, oh, I want to go ride my bike. Well, you go try to ride your bike, and all that gas in the bottom, when you go to crank it, big globs of gas are getting sucked down. I think it was, I can't remember which cylinders kept flooding, but kept sucking globs of gas down, this one or this one or this one or this one, and flooding the cylinders. So you'd have to sit here and drain out all the gas in your engine. So you'd have to pull the plugs out and crank it over a bunch of times. And you have to pull this off every single time and then dump the gas out of it. So don't buy something that looks like this. This one, I've never had that issue so far. It pretty much fires up every single time, even without heat. And that's mostly what I want to make this video about, was just like the little weird things that I've noticed with single carb converting a GL1100, because there's a lot of mishmashed information all over the web, and it's not all into one spot. And I hoped in my confusing video and dragged on video to solve or put together some of that information. So big key takeaways: make sure you're not having air leaks around here, because these are expensive if you want to buy new ones. So my cheap self put rubber. I want you to know about the jets, the accelerator pump. I tried having the accelerators pump down here. Didn't work out very good. It would dump a little too much gas in. Want it up here, and you got your jets over here. Try different idle jets, whatever you want. You got your main jet, like before, you got your adjustment screws right there. And I also want to just talk about this PCV hose. Lastly, but not, I just remembered, your normal carburetor would have this vacuum line that comes off of, I think this is your stator, distributor, or whatever. Comes up, and normally it would plug right into the carb rack, the 4-carb rack right here. But since we don't have that anymore, these 34 pick 3s have a couple of vacuum ports. So they got one, and then there's another one right here, and here. These are not what you want, so they come with plugs. If you buy this one from Amazon, I didn't take them off, so I just left them there. Might eventually have to really plug them up, but it seems to be working fine. What you want to do, here's this vacuum line. So I had this vacuum line. And there's a vacuum port. It kind of points up a little bit. It's at like an angle. It's at the bottom front of the carburetor. So you want to take it, wrap it around, and stick it. It's right back there. And yeah, that's my video. Make sure your choke is working too, because if your choke is stuck in the closed position, then you're going to be burning tons of gas. Also, don't ask me how I know that. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope this video wasn't too confusing. If so, I'll make a new one. Just let me know in the comments or whatever. If you want more information, feel free to comment, or I don't know, is there a message feature on YouTube? I don't know. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hope you guys get your single carb successfully swapped.